Sorry about that. My microphone was muted there. But today we're going to be talking about the manufacturing and GDP rising with Lyft reports as well. So we're going to be talking about leading economical indicators. We're going to review the manufacturing report together. We're going to review the GDP report together. Lyft having its best week. Why do we care? Unemployment, some things is not going to change the unemployment that people can't open their eyes to. Then we can open up the lines for people to call in live if you want to call in live, if you are catching this live. And by the way, if you are catching this live, go ahead and drop down where you're from, say hello, don't be a stranger. So, and as always, if you haven't done so already, ladies and gentlemen, you know you got to go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, hit that like, comment, and share button. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you are now tuned into the Investor Show. As always, this your gracious host, the Prince of Investing, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys and girls live all the way from the beautiful city and state of Denver, Colorado. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share button. And as always, I don't have a lot of time, and I definitely know you guys and girls don't have a lot of time. So we're going to go ahead and jump straight into it. So like I said earlier, if you're catching this live, go ahead and don't be a stranger and hit the comment box, but not the comment, but say hello where you're from below. And as I spoke about earlier, we're going to be talking about leading economical indicators. Why is that important? Why is that so important? Because it's a leading economical indicator where the economy is going. And this is important as an investor because a lot of us want to know, is the economy getting better? Is the economy getting worse? Is the economy doing whatever the case may be, right? So we're going to look at those reports and we're going to review those reports so we can make better decisions as investors. So before I jump into that, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to jump into what are leading economical indicators. But before I jump into that, let me see what y'all are saying in the description box, in the comment box. We got Miss Karen from YouTube says first. Okay, I think I said that right. Ghost Hunter said, thanks for turning me on to TECLN. Oh, okay, TECL 10 for one split. For 10 and one split. I'm kind of lost in that one, what you're saying on that one, but okay, we got you. Pete for life, what's going on? He's out there in Phoenix, Arizona. He says, good evening. He's here. Okay, cool. Big Al, he says, what's going on? Checking in. All right, Al, appreciate it. Then we got Tampa is in the house. Miss Joyce, okay, down there in Tampa. Then we have Chicago is in the house. So we got Phoenix, we got Tampa, we got Chicago. Tori Williams from Chicago. Good evening, everyone. Then we have William, who's from Toledo, Ohio. So we got Ohio, Illinois, Florida, Colorado, Arizona. I'm not sure about the other two, what everybody else said. And then we got Lucky's mom. She's down there in Florida as well. So we got Tampa and Jacksonville. Good evening, Prince and everyone. And Dallas. And Donna says she's from Dallas. So we got Texas, Florida, Ohio, Illinois, Florida again, Colorado, Arizona. Okay, so we're all over the country today. We are all over the country. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let's get into what are leading economical indicators. I'm going to, like I said in this episode, we're going to be talking about leading economical indicators. We're going to read the manufacturing report. We're going to look at the GDP report. We're going to talk about Lyft having its best week ever. And what does that mean? Why do I care about that? And we're going to look at unemployment. We're going to look at those unemployment jobs that are getting hit the hardest that are probably not going to come back. I'm sorry to say it. I don't think they're going to come back the same. And then we're going to open up the lines so people can call in. I'm going to take one or two phone calls. If you guys and girls want to call in towards the end of the show to talk about whatever you want to talk about, to say hello, what's up, or whatever the case may be. Tell me how your week is going, all of the good stuff. So the first thing, ladies and gentlemen, leading economical indicators. Leading economical indicators are just that. For prime example, a leading economical indicator is where the economy indicators or where the economy is going. So the reverse side of a leading economical indicator, you have a lagging economic indicator. Lagging is on the back end as things have already happened. These are things that's going to transpire because this happened, right? So for prime example, a leading economical indicator is unemployment. That's why we pay so much attention to unemployment. Now, as unemployment starts to decrease and we see unemployment is going down, that's an economical indicator that the economy is probably headed down. A lagging indicator would be something like real estate. We see real estate houses. We start to see the prices of the demand for houses starting to decrease. due to the leading economic indicator. So you guys and girls can kind of see what I'm saying there. So one big leading economic indicator that we're going to review here on the show, two of them actually today. One is manufacturing. I told everybody about this. We pay attention to manufacturing hours. We pay attention to manufacturing productivity because that is the cornerstone of a small business. If you can name a business, let's say for prime example, let's say Barnes and Noble that owns a bookstore, or Walmart, it owns a big retail thing or whatever, right? So let's say if you are a store owner, or let's say Ford, you're a manufacturer of cars, not a manufacturer of cars, you sell cars. So for prime example, manufacturing orders is a leading economical indicator. Let's say if I sell cars, I own a car dealership and I sold all of my Ford F-150s. So I call up Ford and I say, hey, I need some new Ford F-150s. Ford's going to say, okay, cool. They're going to call their manufacturer, I don't know, maybe in China or whatever, and they're going to say, hey, we need some more trucks, right? And the reason why is I'm beefing up my inventory because I have an anticipation to sell them, right? When I stop placing those orders to the warehouse, that's a leading economic indicator that I'm not doing so well. So for prime example, if I'm a car dealer, hopefully I'm making sense. I'm not rambling here, but when you look at a car dealership, I don't have to go on his lot and see how many cars he sold. I can just look at his manufacturing orders to tell how good he is doing or will do in the future. If he's ordering more Fords and if he's ordering more cars, that means that he's probably doing well. If he's ordering less cars, that means he's probably not planning on doing so well. The same thing with a manufacturer. People who work in the manufacturing industry, who work at local factories, in a lot of small towns and big cities as well, but their hours are a good economical indicator. The more hours that they're working, that means that they're probably doing more production. Why are they doing more production? Because they probably got more orders. Why do they get more orders? Because a store or a retailer is probably looking to sell that product, or they're looking to increase their sales of that particular product. So you guys and girls kind of see how manufacturing is a good leading economical indicator of where the economy is headed. Along with another one is building permits. Another one I've done on this show in the past, but I haven't done it a whole lot. Building permits are another great leading economical indicator, because before someone build a house, they must do what? They must get a permit. So if I want to build a new Walmart in the city of Denver, right? I have to go out and get a permit. So you can keep track of permits to see if are permits increasing or permits decreasing. By permits increasing, that means that a construction person or a company is looking to build more and more and more. Another one is construction orders. How many orders do people making for construction products? So these are all leading economical indicators. This is why investors and financial people and economists pay attention to this, because this could be a good example of where the economy is going. Right now, we all want to know. I want to know if it's a bull market coming, if it's a bear market, or when the midst of what's going on. The only way I can gauge this is possibly by reading reports, looking at building permits, looking at manufacturing orders, looking at the S&P 500 is another sorry about that. S&P 500 is another good one. Leading economical indicators. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is what leading economical indicators are. So now we're going to jump into the leading economical indicator that came out today that was very important. Is before I jump into that, but we got Ken here from Oregon. Wow, we really all over. I think it's the first time I've seen somebody from Oregon. Not seen anybody. Of course, I know some people from Oregon, but on the show. So we got somebody from we got Ken here. Welcome to the show, Ken. He's from Oregon. So we got Oregon, Dallas, Florida, Ohio, Illinois, Florida again, Colorado, Arizona. Okay, so we're all over the country today. So that's great. That's great. So let's get into this not this financial report, but let's get into this manufacturing report from the ISM. So let me pull this up. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to read this together, and we're going to see exactly what the ISM put out today and why we should care. So let me see here. I got it pulled up. Want to make sure I pull up the right thing. There it is. Boom. No, it's not. Wrong one. We haven't gotten to that topic yet. We're going to get into Lyft later on. And we're going to talk about why Lyft report is so important later on. Wrong report. I got a couple tabs pulled up here that I'm trying to show y'all, so y'all bear with me. No, that's a reserve one. Okay, here it is. Boom, February. So here's the February manufacturing report by the Institute of Supply Management. Okay, you got to agree to not do anything crazy with this report. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, this came out today, right? This came out today. Manufacturing PMI. This is the February 2021 manufacturing ISM report on business. So the ISM is the Institute for Supply Management, and they put out reports on manufacturing, and we're going to talk about why that's so important. So the things they look at new orders. Remember I talked about new orders? They look at new orders, production, employment growth. Are you hiring more people in manufacturing or less people? If you're firing and laying off people and people working less hours, that means manufacturing could be slowing down. And if manufacturing is slowing down, you know what that does to the rest of the economy, right? So anyway, we have new orders, we have production, employment growth, supply delivery slowing at faster rates, backlog growing, raw materials, consumer inventories too low, prices. So we're going to go over all of that. All right. Okay. So anyway, right here, this is coming from Temple, Arizona. So I know we got Arizona in the house. It's coming from Temple, Arizona. They says economical activity in the manufacturing sector grew in February with the overall economic notching at the ninth consecutive month of growth, says the National Supply Executive in the latest manufacturing ISM report on business. The report was issued today by Timothy Force. He's the chairman of the ISM or whatever, right? So right here, he says the February manufacturing PMI registered 60.8%, an increase in 2.1% points from January, reading of 58.7. So it was 58.7 in January. Now it's 60.8, making a 2.1% increase percentage. This figures indicates expansions in the overall economy for the 9 months in a row, contracted in March and April. Remember March of April last year, we had that contraction when we kind of slowed down because of the big pandemic. So many people was laid off, not laid off, but so many people stopped working. Well, the trigger, manufacturing, was so important. Manufacturing, if anybody, I'll give you 1 second. Throat got a little dry. Let me give me a second. Let me get a little water. Everything tastes better out the Investor Show mug. Make sure you go ahead and grab yours. But anyway, what this tells us is that this figure indicates an expansion of the overall economy for the 9th month in a row after the contraction of March and April of 2020. Remember, March and April of last year, what we had happen was Apple was the first one to light off the signal that we had a big economical issue that potentially could come. When Apple came out and said, hey, most of our phones are being made in China, and China was the first one that got I won't say the first one. I'm not a disease control person, but we first heard of it coming out of China, right? So when it was coming out of China, Apple was the first one that said, hey, due to this pandemic in China, it can slow down the manufacturing of our iPhones. Apple got slammed. It was the first one back in like January, February timeframe that led us into the contraction that we had experienced in March and April. This was very important. This shows you how important enforcing following manufacturing is. So here we go. This figure, okay, we already got that. The new orders index registered at 64.8%, up 3.7% points from January, reading at 61.1. So new orders have gone up. We talked about the new orders, in order for a manufacturer, if you own a manufacturing business, they're going to look at your new orders. How much are you ordering for me to manufacture? That's how well you can tell a company or the economy is doing. The production index registered at 63.2, an increase of 2.5%. So production increase. The backlog order of indexes registered at 64%, 4.3% increase. The employment index, right? It went up 1.8%. The supply deliveries index, it also increased. Inventories index. Okay. So let's see what they got to say about this. The manufacturing economy continued to recover in February. Survey committee members reported that their companies and suppliers continue to operate in a reconfigured factories, issuing with absences, short-term shutdowns, sanitation stations, and difficulties in hiring workers remain a challenge and continue to cause strains that limit manufacturing growth potential. So they're saying they have difficulties in hiring people. It remains a challenge. Okay, maybe you should increase the pay. But that's a good thing. I look at when I'm reading how I'm interpreting this is if they're having a challenge to hire people, maybe because their demand is so high that they can't keep people or whatever the case may be. This is a good sign for manufacturing, right? Okay, demand expanded with the first orders growing to strong levels, supporting the new orders. Okay, so it kind of gets down to here consumption, things like that. Of the six biggest manufacturing industries, five. So this is another I want to get into as well. That's very important about this report is it's also going to tell us who is what you call it. Who is it's also going to give us a good one where it's going to tell us as well about what I want to tell you. Who's experiencing the most orders? Who's making the most orders? Who's putting out the most orders, right? So that's the first one we want to look at. So let's take a look here. Let's take a look here. So of the six manufacturing industries, five, chemical production, fabrical, medical, transportation equipment, computer and electronic production, and food and beverage tobacco products registered strong growth in February. Petroleum and coal products moderately contracted. So gas and coal kind of went down a little bit, but you're seeing chemical production, fabricate metals, transportation equipment, computer and electronics, food and beverage. This is very important because this can give you an indication of what's to come. So let's say if I'm investing into, this could give me, if I'm seeing that industries are picking up in chemical productions, this could let me know, hey, let me look into the chemical production world since I see manufacturing is picking up in that arena, right? So that's why it's important to investors. Now, things like beverage and tobacco products, no matter what the economy was doing, people will always smoke and drink. They have a negative impact on what's going on in the economy, whether it's expanding or contracting. People will use tobacco products, people will drink, right? So manufacturing performed well for the ninth straight month with demand, consumption, and inputs registered strong growth compared to January. Labor market difficulties at panelist companies and their suppliers continue to restrict manufacturing, economical expansion, and will continue primary headwinds to production's growth until employment levels and factory operations can return to normal across the supply chain. Okay, so they're saying that with this employment, they're hinting to the fact that they can't have as many workers working in their facilities because I'm assuming that people got to be 6 feet apart. They can't hire as many people. Working hours could be a challenge due to people having to go to sanitation stations and be 6 feet apart, and they maybe can't work close to each other. That's my assumption, right? So very good report here. They're going to tell you the ones who grew the most was the textile, electronic equipment, appliances, premium metals, paper products, chemical fabrications, all the other good stuff, right? So overall, very good manufacturing, strong manufacturing report came up, right? So anyway, this is, so what I'm looking at with this anyway, this is very good for manufacturing reports, right? So with manufacturing reports, let's go into the next thing. What we're going to talk about is the GDP. GDP. Before we get into that, we're going to go into Lyft before we get into the GDP. You know what? Before we get into the GDP, let's talk about unemployment. Prince, can you make up your mind what topic? We're going to get all those topics. But the reason why I want to get into unemployment, because manufacturing was speaking about that, right? When we look at the economy overall, we're wondering, we ask ourselves the question, what is going to happen with unemployment? When we look at unemployment, for a prime example, we got to ask ourselves the question of why is unemployment so high and the economy is doing so well? So without further ado, we're going to take a look at that. We're going to go look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So we want to see the reason why this is going to be important, because with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they're going to tell us which jobs people are out of the work the most. So let's take a look here. I already had that pulled up. Let me pull this up for the stream for the people that's catching the video content right here. So we're looking at the table 14, Alpha 14. This is not I don't think it's the latest of the latest of the latest. They haven't put out one very, very recent, if I'm not mistaken. They put out, this one was on February 5th. So February 5th, this is a couple weeks old. But as you can look at it, the unemployment rates, you look at who is experiencing the highest unemployment rates, what industry. It shouldn't be overly surprising. You see, January of last year, they were at 5.9% unemployment. Now they're at 15.9. They have the highest unemployment. What sector is that? That is leisure and hospitality. Leisure and hospitality. So for everybody out there who don't know what leisure and hospitality is, that's pretty much like your places like we go out to. I don't know, like when you go out and play golf, or when you people that go out and eat food, things like that. You know, hospitality, hotels, things like that, amusement parks, leisure, people, things that people do for leisure. They kind of go out, things like that. So when you look at this, they're experiencing the highest amount of unemployment. Now, when I look at this sector, I'm wondering, people are saying, hey, can't wait till things get back to normal. But we got to ask ourselves, a lot of these industries, this will be and is the new normal, right? So with leisure and hospitality, y'all let me know in the comment box, what do y'all think about the leisure and hospitality industry? Do you think do you think they will return to normal? Like we will, once this clears up, hopefully by the next year. I don't think it'll probably clear all the way up by the end of next year. I know Texas said that they're going to open up regardless. But as we're looking at people that go in, as we get back to normal, do you think we would get back to the way we were? Like, you know, before everybody was using hotels and everybody was just going out to Six Flags and Disney World and all these other things, you know, things for leisure and, you know, traveling and grabbing hotels like we usually do. Do you think that will return? Do you think that will return to the levels that we had before? And if so, if it does return to the levels we had before, um, would it be the same? I don't know. We got things like Airbnb now. Will people go out as much as they used to? Will we see that? So that's number one. The number one place that has the highest unemployment by the industry and class of worker is leisure and hospitality. Falling behind that at number two is mining, oil and gas extract. So, you know, I'm not very overly familiar with mining, but I will say with gas and oil, I'm not overly surprised with that. I'm not overly surprised with that due to the fact of what you call it. What am I mean by that? Due to the fact of gas is, as of lately, it's been making a comeback, but you're seeing things like California talking about stopping the. I seen the report. I'm not sure how accurate that was, but California is talking about stopping the build and expansion of gas stations. Right. That's what I want people to look at. So unemployment, when we look at the unemployment sector, we're seeing number one is leisure and hospitality. Number two, mining, oil and gas extracts. Let's see who has had their unemployment decrease from last year. Let me see if anybody. Let me take a look here. No, no, no. Everybody unemployment pretty much increased for the most part. Some of them didn't move as much. Oh, you know what? Here it is right here, right? The only sector, they had 12% unemployment last year and they have 9% unemployment. The only industry and sector is agriculture and related private wage and salary workers. Agriculture. Hmm. So through it all, the pandemic, you know, we still had to eat. Somebody still had to farm the land. So agriculture was the only sector that pretty much they went the opposite way. Their unemployment dropped during all of this, the pandemic that was going on, which makes sense. You know, we still had to eat. You know, people still had to eat. People still went to the store. Walmart still was placing orders. So not very surprised there, but that's an industry. Maybe that could be an industry, you know, if you're trying to stay rich, stay rich company will be something like agriculture. But hopefully that makes sense to y'all. Let me see here. Let me get out of as we're talking about unemployment. Let me see. Dillian says, "Hey, Mr. Prince, I love catching the lives. It's so valuable. Even me being man, you're 17 years old. Where you at, Dillian? 17 years old, very smart, Very smart guy. 17 years old, sitting down watching financial literacy, man. You're definitely on the right path. I got to give you a round of applause for that. Round of applause for Dylan at 17 years old, sitting down watching finances and learning about GDP reports and manufacturing reports, unemployment reports, Bureau of Labor Statistic, ISMs, all the good stuff like that. Very smart young man, man. I'm proud of you. Definitely. Miss Benjamin, North Carolina. She said she's from North Carolina. Appreciate you. Appreciate you as well. Look at that. We got North Carolina in the house. We have Mississippi. I forgot that we got Ken from Mississippi. We got Oregon in the house. Texas is in here. Ohio is in here. Illinois is in here. Florida, Arizona. So yeah, okay. We all we're all over the place. I'm not fooling with you, Randy. I'm not messing with you. Also, job, young man. Yes, 17 years old, tuning into a financial literacy show. That's pretty awesome. So the next thing we're going to get into, ladies and gentlemen, Lyft reported its best week ever. Why do we care about what Lyft says? So everybody knows on this financial literacy show, I'm an Uber guy, right? So Uber next of kin is Lyft. So I pay attention to what Lyft is doing because Lyft is in the same space. Lyft reported its best week ever. How did it have its best week ever? And why do I care? Because if I'm an investor in the Uber, I would like to know what are the competitors doing at all times. I'm never loyal to a stock, right? I'm never overly loyal to a stock. I'm loyal to performance and fundamental analysis, right? So when I'm watching Uber, I'm watching what the competition is doing as well. So when I'm watching Uber, I'm watching what the competition is doing as well, right? So Lyft reported its best week ever. Let's take a look at what Lyft said. This is very big because if you know Lyft is a one-trick pony. And what I mean by one-trick pony, Lyft, all it does is give rides. I mean, that's pretty much, that's it. Uber, it has rides, then it got Uber Eats, then it has Uber Freights, the three places that make money. So when the pandemic hit, you see Uber, their rides dried up. Lyft rides dried up. But guess what? Uber excelled with Uber Eats. Uber Eats just took over the world, right? Now you're seeing some of the rides come back. So when I see Lyft have its best week ever, it automatically clicks in my head. They only make money one way. How do I know that? Which report do I read, ladies and gentlemen? Do I find that out on the income statement, the balance sheet? If I want to see how a company is making its money, somebody let me know in the comment box. If you want to know how a company is making its money, does it find out through the income statement, cash flow statement, or balance sheet? If I want to find out how a company makes its money, do I sit on the balance sheet, income statement, or the cash flow statement? Which one do I look that up? Where do I find your revenue streams? So I know Uber has 3 revenue streams where Uber, it gives rides, it delivers food, and it also has Uber Freights. Lyft, on the other hand, has 1. Also, you know that you look it up too. Facebook only makes money via one way. Facebook is a one-trick pony, right? It makes, 98% of its money comes through revenue, right? Kelly said cash flow in a way, but I can't see the revenue streams. I can't see the revenue streams on that. No, sorry, Kelly. That's not the cash flow statement. Karen said the balance sheet, but almost all of them in a way, but it's definitely not the balance sheet. Then we got John Thomas. He comes in, he says the income statement. There we go. Congratulations, John. John, you are correct. It is the income statement. Then we got Lucky's mom. She says income statement as well. The income statement, yes, on the cash flow statement, it is broken up into 3 pieces, right? You can see on the cash flow statement, it's going to tell you how much money is coming in, but it's not going to tell you where the money is coming from. But when you read that 10Q and that 10K report on the income statement, it'll tell you their revenue streams. You can read out the 10Q, right? You can read out the 10Q. The balance sheet is almost the assets. It's telling you how much money is in the bank, how much money they owe. You can see the shareholders' equity, things like that. But if you want to see the money coming into a company, where's this revenue streams? It is the income statement. Congratulations, John Thomas. Then we got LK Raw. What's going on, LK Raw? Hope you enjoy your new house there. He says, sorry, I'm late. I just got out of a meeting. Can't wait to have so much money. I don't have to do it. LK Ross at work says, sorry, I'm late. I just got out of a meeting at work. Can't wait till I have so much money. I don't have to do it anymore. But hey, you know what? It's simple. You know, you make it, you make income, you keep your what's going, you bring in as much money as possible, you keep what's going out as low as possible, and you invest the difference. And you keep doing that consistently over time. I won't say you'll be Warren Buffett, but you'll be better off than where you at today, right? If you consistently do it over time. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at what Lyft said and why. We just talked about why it was so important, why I cared about it, but let's take about what Lyft has to say, right? Because if you don't know about financial reports, guess what you're gonna do?
You're gonna learn today. You're gonna learn today.
That's exactly right. So, anyway, let's take a look at what Lyft said. Where is it at? Boom, here it is. So right here, Lyft. This is an 8K report. They put this 8K report out today, right? On March 2nd. Okay, let's see what they got to say. That's the disclosures. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let me see where we at. I'm trying to find my spot. Y'all give me 1 second. Okay, on March 2nd. That is today, March 2nd. Lyft Incorporated provided an update on its business trends for the month of February related to updates provided on the company's fourth quarter earnings call on February 9th. Okay, so in February, average daily rideshare rides increased 4% month over month relative to the average daily rideshare volume in January 2021. I'm sorry. As described on Lyft's fourth quarter earnings call, whether the first quarter is highly unpredictable and because of the severe shutdown storms can shut down cities and impact rides. So, they were looking at it. They were giving updates because, down in Texas, they had a big freeze and things like that. So they was looking at, did that impact their rides or whatever? And particularly the week ending in February 21st, 2021 was impacted by severe winter storms affecting multiple U.S. cities. Average daily ride volume in February, excluding the week ending in February 21st, increased by 5.4% versus the average daily ride share the volume of January 2021. Ride share ride volume during the week ending in February 28th reached a new level for 2021 and was the company's best week since March of 2020. So right here, they're saying that we had pretty much they're saying that they have an increase in people taking rides until they had the winter storms hit that affected multiple U.S. cities. When we had multiple cities get hit by storms and things like that, that's when they saw that week they saw a decline. But before that and after that, they saw an increase, and it has been their best week since March of 2020. So, March of 2020, that's when things started to take a little nosedive. So that was a pretty good. So when I see this, so now let's take a look at Lyft. How is Lyft doing in the aftermarket? Let's take a look at Lyft in the aftermarket. Let's see. Let's see what they're doing right now. What's going on with Lyft? So Lyft is 4% up. Lyft went up 4% right now. 4.2. It went up $2 in the aftermarket after releasing this report. So let's see what Uber did. Let's see if Uber moved. Let's see if Uber moved. Lyft went up 4%. Oh, goodness. I'm on the wrong thing here. Lyft went up 4%. Uber went up 2% because of this report. When Lyft saying, hey, we're giving rides, we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, all of a sudden the whole industry moves, right? So that's very good because Uber was killing it due to Uber Eats. Now we're going to see where Uber rides are starting to kick back in, and if their Uber Eats are kicking it up with their rides, that's a nice little revenue. That's why that's very important to me and everybody out there that is an investor, right? show us the way. Oh, show us the way. Okay. Oh yeah, that's what we're doing here on this show, right? So that's what the thing about this show is. We always talk about looking at certain things, finances, right? And the reason why I'm saying all this, the reason why I'm looking at economical indicators, Kim, is a mistake I made back in 2008. 2008, I always tell the story. I thought the world was coming to the end. I was about what? I was 22, 23 years old at that time, something around that age, and I had never seen us in two wars. We was in Afghanistan, I was in Iraq myself, and then every time I turned on the news, all I saw was the market crashing. I saw Ford go bankrupt, Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, all these big Wall Street banks was going bankrupt, even all it seemed like the world just unemployment was going up. We was in two wars, gas prices were through the roof every day. It was Ford going bankrupt, then it was General Motors, then we had the financial industry was collapsing on itself. And it asked me the question of um I asked me a question. I was like, man, the world is coming to an end. I did not know that this was a contraction and that we was going off into a bull market. So we bottomed out around about, I'll say the big top of 2009, like March 2009, if I'm not mistaken. We kind of, not March 2009, I think it was March 2010 when we started to bottom out. And from March 2010 until the pandemic hit, we were in a bull market. Did I take full advantage of that bull market, Ken? No, I did not. Because throughout that whole decade, I was waiting on the next market crash. Because when we was in that bull market, it just didn't keep going up every day. Every day, I just saw stimulus package after stimulus package, like we're seeing today. I saw stimulus packages. I saw interest rates drop. I saw stimulus packages go out. Then it was always this scare when Jan Yellen, when she would talk, she was the Fed chair at the time. Now she's the Secretary of Treasury. When she would speak, is she's going to raise interest rate? Is that going to crash the market? When we went from President Obama to President Trump, we was like, oh, is that going to crash the market? We had a nice little dip, then we came back. So my thing is, as an investor, I'm looking at, as I go forward, I tell people ride the bull on a consistent basis. So for prime example, Kim, looking at what Lyft is doing, I'm an investor into Uber, right? I think Uber is going to figure it out, and I'm following their story. If they do figure it out, I think they're going to be over $100 if they can turn a profit. Right now, Lyft can turn a profit as well, if because Lyft is a one-trick pony. It only gives rides, so it doesn't put out as much money as Uber does. So, for prime example, I'm looking at these two companies. That's why I made this report, this episode, to talk about Lyft's 8K report they put out today, and just went over and them talking about their best week. You can see Lyft went up 4%. You can see Uber went up 2%. Uber has said they plan on being profitable by the end of this year, fourth quarter, and we're going to see if they can turn this company profitable. If they could turn this company profitable, I can see it over $100, right? If they can make it happen, because it's my belief Uber looks like Facebook. When Facebook came out, it had a lot of growth problems. They had a lot of this and that or whatever. But we're going to see if they can figure it out. And if they can figure it out, I keep riding with them. If they can't figure it out, I sell them and move on to somebody else. No hard feelings. But that's my look on this particular show and episode. And also, we went over the manufacturing report to show that look at the leading economic indicator, because so many of us have money sitting on the sideline waiting for the next big drop. I have friends who've been waiting on the next big drop for 5 or 6 years now. So this is telling you now to find and open up new ways to invest in. So that's all of our objectives, to look at it, looking at finances, and not only looking at finances and making guesses, we're backing it up with financial data like we always do on the show. And notice every time on the show, I never try to pull up a media outlet. I always pull up raw data, just like we just looked at the ISM report from the Institute of Supply Management. And then we're going to go look at the GDP report from the Federal Reserve. We look at the Mortgage and Bankers Association. So we do a lot of good, I like to believe that we do a lot of good resources to, this is not a show where I'm going to tell you, hey, go buy this, go do this or whatever. But I'm just, pulling up with factual data that you can type and look it up for yourself. All right, Ken, out there in Oregon. Cool. Everybody say they love the sound effects. So I love the sound. I love the sound effects. He said entertaining and education. You know what? That's one thing I don't have a good I'm just not as entertained. I wish I was. I watch some people and they just have a exuberating personality where they can just tell so many things. They could tell so many jokes. They're just funny without being, without even trying. I wish I had that, but hey, I don't have that. I have to use what I got, right? I have to use what I got. Miss George down there in Tampa, she's down there keeping warm. She says, great information as usual. Now with the sound effects. Ah, Karen said people waiting for the drop don't, but the drop, that's why they are always waiting for the drop. Yeah. And I was that person, I woke up every day waiting on some negative to happen. All right, so let's get into our next topic, right? My next topic we're going to get into, we talked about the unemployment. We looked at the manufacturing report. We also looked into the leading economic indicators. Let's look at that GDP. Who knows what the GDP stands for? Why does the GDP important? Who can tell me what GDP, the acronym, stands for? Well, the GDP is very important to us. Why y'all tell me what that is in the comments? But the GDP is very important due to the fact of it's very it lets us know how the economy is doing. How much stuff are we making? How many things are we selling? Everybody know we're in a trade deficit. We buy more than what we sell, but that's what we're looking at, right? So we're going to look at this report itself to see what is the GDP doing. Is the GDP growing? Is the GDP getting lower? Because that can let me know how things are going, right? Okay, Miss Benjamin said gross domestic product. Congratulations. Gross domestic product, right? And Lucky's mom, she got it right too. Gross domestic product. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Now, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and let's take a look at the GDP. The Federal Reserve, Atlanta's Federal Reserve, we're going to look at it, right? 1 second. Let's take a look at that. Let's pull it up. Where are we going? Here we go. Here we go. We're looking. Here we go. Here we go. Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. All right. So this is from the Federal Reserve. If you want to look this up yourself, this is frbatlanta.org. The growth, the GDP now. So the growth rate of the real gross domestic product, GDP, is a key indicator of the economical activity, but the official estimate is released with a delay. Our GDP now forecasting model is a nowcast of the official estimate prior to its release by estimating GDP growth using methodology similar to the ones used by the U.S. Bureau of Economical and Analysis. So right now, GDP now, it tells you like, hey, we're going to give it to you now by using different methods instead of waiting until a GDP report comes out. So GDP now is not an official forecast of the Atlanta Fed. Rather, it is the best view as a running estimate of real GDP growth based on available economical data for the current measured quarter. There are no specific adjustments made at GDP now. The estimate is based solely on the mathematical results of the model. In particular, it does not capture the COVID-19 and social mobility. Okay, all right. All right, so anyway, right here, they're saying the GDP now estimates a real growth domestic seasonal adjustment rating annual rating for the first quarter of 2021 is 10% on March 1st, up from 8.8% on February 26th. After this morning manufacturing ISM report on business from the Institute of Supply Management and the construction spending report from the U.S. Central Bureau, the nowcast of the first quarter real personal consumption expenditures growth, first quarter real private domestic growth investment, and the first quarter real government spending growth increased 7.7%, 17% in recent respected, or whatever the case may be. So right now they're saying that they're looking at, it was 8.8 last week, and now they got it going up to 10% due to the fact of the manufacturing report that we just went over by the ISM, the construction spending report, something that I'm probably not going to get into on this episode. The construction, I talked about it earlier, but we're not going to go over the report. It's over at the U.S. Census Bureau. The construction spending. Construction spending is very important because they watch, in order to see if somebody's going to build something, you got to watch how much lumber are they ordering, how much metal, how much raw material are they ordering to build a new house. That's how you can tell the housing market is going to slow down before it's slowing down, because people, they pay attention to construction orders. If we're not ordering that much off of constructions, guess what? We're not building that much. But if you pay attention to what President Biden has already ran on, he said that I'm going to put a lot of money towards infrastructure. So if he puts a lot of money towards infrastructure and incentivize infrastructure, you can see construction spending increase, right? So also they looked at the personal consumption expenditures growth. They put all these reports together and they're seeing the nowcast before the real GDP report comes out, they can see an increase, right? So I pay attention to that because I'm trying to see, are we headed towards a bull or are we headed towards a bear, right? So now this is what I'm going to do before I close out the show today. If you want to call in and say hello or whatever the case may be, feel free to call in. The number is 724-798-1303. If you want to call in and say hello, you want to catch me live and things like that, you can call in right now at 724-798-1303 to speak live on air. Ooh, got a little cold there. So you can call in, if you want to speak for tonight's show, before I close out tonight's show. That number is 724-798-1303. All right. So what was the other thing somebody commented down here? They said, Karen says, what do you think about inflation fears? Inflation fears. The only thing that makes me fearful about inflation, unemployment. I'm sorry about that. Unemployment, minimum wage. I mean, I said unemployment. Unemployment can lead to it as well, but I can see that my biggest concern is seeing us push up minimum wage. I mean, like I said all the time, when I was a kid and I was a teenager, I always cared about what was happening to me. I didn't never look at the bigger picture, but I look at, if you start to increase unemployment, they're talking about making it $15 an hour. I know $7.25 sounds ridiculous, right? But across the country, if we put it at the federal level, I think that it'll hurt small businesses more than anybody else. I think it's going to hurt small businesses because small businesses are going to hire less people, or they can't afford to hire people. I think that small business will hire less people. And I think that the people that it'll hurt the most are the people that actually need it the most. So imagine if the person that hired me at Domino's Pizza, was my first job. They hired, I don't know, maybe 10 people. But since unemployment goes up, they may say, we're not going to hire 10 people. We're only going to hire 7 to 8. And those 7 to 8 people are going to have to work harder. Or we may just put our money inside of a kiosk. Let's buy a kiosk and let's hire less people. That would have put me in a position of maybe not being able to get my first job. So it's the people that need it the most are the ones that's probably going to get hurt by it the most. Because the people at the top, corporations, like I spoke on yesterday's show, I told people it's only three ways for people to make money. I mean, to cover unemployment, to cover minimum wage. And it's either one, hire less people, 2, take it out of the company profits, 3, raise the price on the goods. And yes, if you give everybody $15, then I think that if everybody else get $15, then now everybody else, all the other workers, they want to get paid more than $15. So now that if I'm the owner of a store and I got to pay the person on the cash register $15, but I got to give my store manager $20, then I got to get a person who's working my cash register another $15 or whatever, that's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? So when I see that as a problem, I can see people now starting to raise the price of goods and services. So that's my biggest concern of inflation, rising inflation. Because inflation right now has been kind of low, maybe at 1 or 2%. It's not as high as it usually is. But I think that a lot of that is pushed by the pandemic. I think a lot of that is pushed by unemployment. But one of my biggest fears for inflation right now is if we do a $15 hour federal level. Now, I could understand, like I said a million times, I could understand major cities. Like if you live in San Francisco or LA or Seattle, what's the other place? Maybe Miami or New York City, these major metropolitan areas where it's impossible to live off of $7 an hour. then I can see that hike. But if you're in a small town in Nebraska, a small town in Georgia or Tennessee, and $15 an hour, that sucks a lot of money out of the company. So that's my feel on my fears of inflation. That's my fears. So yeah. So anyway, that's going to wrap up today's episode. We spoke about the leading economical indicators. We also went over the manufacturing report. We looked at GDP. We talked about Lyft having its best week ever, and we went over the unemployment report. And we talked about the places that got hit the worst. We talked about the leisure and things like that, or whatever they got hit the worst. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude today's episode. I thank everybody. Let me see 1 second. Let's see what Ken got to say here. Ken says, do you think Lyft will go self-drive taxi given it all that it does? Okay. Yes, to some form. I believe Tesla should buy Uber. I always said that, or Lyft. Tesla should buy Uber or Lyft if I was Tesla, because Tesla's kind of leading the way on cars, right? Tesla is leading the way on cars. Before I get into this, before I head out of here, this is if you want to call in and speak to me before I head out of here, before I close the show, the number is 724-798-1306. 724-798-1303. So Ken, do I think Lyft will go to self-driving cars? Yes. I mean, we're moving towards that way anyway. We already kind of have self-driving cars, but as they become more prominent, the first companies that are going to benefit from that are going to be Uber and Lyft. I think Uber would do the same thing. I think it's going to get to the point where your car, this is a pretty good idea. Imagine if you can call your car in the morning, not even call it, since it knows your work schedule. It comes to your house, you get in the back seat, it drives you to work, and then while you're at work, it goes off an Uber. Can you imagine that? Imagine if your car came in and picked you up every day at 6:00. You got in the car, it took you to work, and then while you was at work, it went off and did Uber, picked people up and dropped people off and made you money, then came back and picked you up and took you home. Can you imagine a world like that? So I know that Tesla is working on that, self-driving cars. They already got self-driving cars, but as they manufacture them more, I think large metropolitan areas like your LA, your New York, your major cities, your A-list and your B-list cities, I think they're going to be the major ones to benefit from that, right? So I definitely can see them going to self-driving cars. Uber and Lyft will probably be the first ones to do that. And that's why I think Tesla should just buy one of them. I think, Lyft is probably be a whole lot cheaper, I think. I would just try to partner with them or merge with them. Well, not merge, because Tesla just way bigger than both of them combined. But at least with one of those companies, instead of trying to build it themselves, I would merge with one of them because they already have the infrastructure. That I would add my self-driving car with Lyft or Uber and take over the game. That would be my take. Tokenized ride share. I don't know what you mean by that. Tokenized ride share. What you mean by that? Tokenized ride share? I'm kind of lost on that. Tokenized. But yeah, that's a very good idea. That's what I think about it. I definitely see those companies are going to be the first ones to take over from them. And they got the Apple car coming out. Don't forget, we got the Apple car coming out. The Apple car is going to be self-driving. Tesla cars are already self-driving. It's just a matter of getting somebody in there to take them to the next level. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been a very special treat for you guys to tune in and for me to be in your presence tonight. That's going to conclude today's episode. I thank everybody for tuning in all across the country tonight. Until the next video, podcast, cartoon. If you haven't done so already, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead in that description box and get your Investor Show mug. And you check out the Children's Financial Literacy Series, Wesley Learns. That's available everywhere: hardcover, paperback, audio, ebooks, support, all that good stuff like that. I appreciate you. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, share button, and tell your friends and your family, all that great stuff like that. Until the next video, podcast, whatever else you see me doing, please, around the globe, peace, be safe. I'm out. Thank you.